What up, Yugi Bros? Long time no see. I am back from the brink of COVID. Feeling a lot better, so let's get into some duel videos for you guys. I know it's been a little bit. This time with an IC mirror match. IC stands for Inner Conflict, for the people that don't know. Our opponent is playing the IC Monarchs. Shout out to Rook's Table for some ideas regarding an IC Monarch build. Inner Conflict is probably the best skill right now, where you activate it during your main phase. Once per duel, you can pay half your life points to take control of an opponent's monster until the end phase, but it can't attack directly this turn, whereas most of the time you either get it out of the way just to swing for game or take it to tribute it. In a Monarch deck, for those that don't know, old school Monarch decks are basically tribute summon decks. Tribute summon, anything that's level 5 or 6. Or 7 or higher, require 1 tribute or 2 tributes, depending on the monster. Most cases, you're going to play stuff like Jinzo, Grand Marg, Spell Canceller, that's more like a side deck option. Kaiser Glider's a good one. Stuff like that, basically. Gap the Divine Soldier saw a lot of play the last format. But basically, the whole point is you just, you take your opponent's monster and you tribute it. And then afterward, you usually just spam the field with big monsters. And then they become tribute fodder, considering they'll stay on the field most of the time. So it's pretty good for that reason as well. We're playing IC Warriors, Conflict Warrior, the good old deck that's been around for a while. They're going to start with Offering, Shrink, and Book. They're only going to set offerings and they're going to pass. Usually this deck wants to go second, because it'll wait for you to establish some type of board. They'll take your monster and summon it, tribute it for either Jinzo or Grand Marg, thus destroying one of your other back row. Basically destroying 2 of your cards when you started with 4, so it's a real good numbers game, considering if they go second, they get an extra card as well. So, it's just really good for them, but we elected to go second. We're going to summon Command Knight, we're going to set 3, and we're going to go to battle phase. They're going to take the damage. They could have offerings, but why skip their draw phase for a 1600 monster when they can use their skill and take our monster instead? We have to fix the life points here. So used to paying 2,000 life points. So they're going to sacrifice that for the Jinzo. They're going to go into battle phase and swing. We're going to offerings that because we don't need to deal with that. But we have reinforcements to the army, so we have ways to get to monsters. We don't draw, but we will add Amazoness Sage. They do have 3 back row. We don't expect this to go through, but we do expect Sage to bait one of their back row, so they don't lose more of it. They're going to offerings, which is a little surprising. They could have booked it or waited a turn. Shrink's not going to do anything, but I do understand the fact that if they booked it and didn't draw a monster, they just essentially wasted this for nothing, because then they'd have to use that in the following turn. They don't draw, so they'll set and pass. We draw into a Jinzo, so we are forced to pass. They're going to draw into a Breaker the Magical Warrior, which is arguably the best card for something deck like this. If you're not tribute summoning a 1900 beat stick, or that pops a back row and becomes a 1600 beat stick, is the next best thing in the game. So they're going to shrink we're going to shrink their breaker. So we're going to take 800 gladly to face, but that's not a big deal. We're going to use Inner Conflict. We're going to pay half. We're going to take their breaker, tribute it for our Jinzo. We're going to have Jinzo try to swing here, and they're going to flip Book of Moon. Unfortunate part about Jinzo is his defense is really low. They draw into Charging Gaia. They use this as basically just a free 1900 beat stick. You can, on the offset chance you needed this to be more relevant, it can be a tribute summon monster. The problem is you'd have to tribute 2 monsters instead of 1. So it's a little awkward, but by itself it's a 1900 beat stick. But we do have the Book of Moon. Unfortunately, this thing's got 2100 defense though. And if it flips back face up, it resets its stats, because this effect would no longer be in effect once it flips back up. We draw into Hammer Shot, which is really good to destroy this if it was face up. Unfortunately, it is not. So we're going to set Dunzalug because our life points are low enough. We don't think this attack is going to go through, but we're going to flip Jinzo anyway and try to swing in over this thing. Damage Step, they're going to flip Shrink. So we actually take the 700 there, and that forces our hand. So they will go. They draw into a Breaker, which is 1900 at this point. They're going to then use Shrink once again on our Jinzo, having their Gaia swing over our monster for exact game. So they didn't even need the Breaker of the Magical Warrior. I would tell you that IC Monarch is probably the best deck in Speed Duels right now, but I've said plenty of times that X is the best deck in Speed Duels right now, so it's definitely a powerful deck. It's definitely, in my opinion, one of the best decks in Speed Duels. I don't know if it's the best deck in Speed Duels, but it definitely has its advantages. And as you can see here, how relevant it is against something like IC Warrior. Like, Conflict Monarch is just literally better Conflict Warrior, in my opinion. They play more beat sticks, they play more cards that are relevant. Warrior doesn't have this or this at their disposal. They do have this, but both of these just do extra things that provoke the opponent to destroy things beforehand. Like, for example, we're going to destroy this so it doesn't chance destroy one of these cards instead, but we're going to skip our draw phase to do so. And yeah, Warrior could play Zoma, but like, this Monarch deck is just better to utilize things number-wise. They ask anything before damage, we don't want to risk it, so we're going to widespread ruin it out of existence. We don't draw, but that's fine. We're going to keep going with this 1900 monster. We're going to flip another Zoma. We're going to try to swing into the Zoma, because at this point, we need to gain advantage here. We don't summon the Grand Marg. I guess we could have, but we figured we'd save it because right now Grand Marg plus Inner Conflict is a 2-card bust on our opponent, so we'd rather save it for that. They're going to summon another Charging Gaia. They're going to swing in here, ask anything before damage step. This time we don't respond. They're going to activate Shrink. Yes, we could have Book of Mooned it, but it would have went to 2100 defense. This can't get over that. Yes, we could attribute summon to this afterward and destroyed this set monster, but we'd have no recovery play, and if any of you know anything about me, I love a recovery play. I love a good recovery play. And I'd rather use this recovery play. We're going to pay half our life, which is 575, take their charging, tribute it, summon the Grand Marg, force their Book of Moon. But that does give us the upside of them having to top deck. They top deck Shrink, which isn't going to do anything for them other than stall a little bit longer. We're going to flip Grand Marg back face up, summon Command Knight, set our Widespread Ruin, and swing. They're going to flip Shrink on the Grand Marg, so they take 12, but the 1600 is what'll be enough to kill them. So both these decks are really, really powerful, but I do, like I said before, I really think the Monarch deck has the advantage over the Warrior deck. The Warrior deck's monsters are just a little bit weaker in most cases, and the Monarch deck can just play anything that's relevant to the format. They could play Kaiku the Ghost Destroyer. They're obviously playing Breaker, which is relevant. Breaker, like I said before, forces our hand here, whereas something like Shrink wouldn't have done anything to it. It still would have forced itself to destroy a back row. Anything in this deck that just plays the numbers game, that basically whittles our options down further, is honestly probably one of the best things like in the format right now. There's no like huge spam deck outside of XYZ that really just goes in one shot. So we're going to roto the Sage, we're going to set the Shrink, we're going to swing. We did randomly YOLO this Cosmic. They're going to Sphere, protecting their Widespread Ruin. They could have used it, but I understand the point of keeping Widespread a little bit longer. The downside, though, in doing that is that if either one of us draw into a Jinzo or a Grand Marg and get rid of that, or, prevent it from activating, that does make that card a lot worse. But again, I can understand not wasting a Widespread on a 1400 monster when you can have something like this, just run over it. We draw into Exiled Force, will activate its effect, getting rid of the Charging Gaia, and pass. On their end phase, going to flip Zoma, however. And as you can see, it keeps up with our advantage and just overpowers us. Like, it's just strictly a better deck, or a better Inner Conflict deck, I would say. We're going to take the Zoma. We're down to 600 life, though. We're going to swing in. Their Widespread is now dead, so like I said, sometimes it's best to use the Widespread early. They draw on offerings, they set the offerings, they pass. We draw on a Widespread. We're going to still set it in case they get rid of our Jinzo. We're going to try to swing in here, and they're going to flip offerings, but that prevents them from drawing, so they're going to pass. We draw it into Grand Marg. We've already used our skill, though, so that's not going to do anything. They're going to set Zoma and pass. We're going to draw into a Charging Gaia. We're going to have Charging Gaia attempt to swing for game. They're going to then Widespread our Charging. They're going to end phase with Zoma. Drawing into Shrink, setting the Shrink, having the Zoma swing in, while having us flip our Widespread Ruin. And now it's just a back and forth battle. We're going to set Book of Moon and pass. They're going to draw in a Grand Marg and pass. They still have their skill, though, don't forget. We draw in a Rhoda. We will use it here, adding Blade Knight. Might as well get a Beat Stick at this point. Summon it and attempt to swing for game. I guess we could have done the same thing with Command Knight, but we wanted a little bit more offense. Just in case, they're going to activate Shrink, so they're only going to take 1,000. And unfortunately now they have it set up perfectly for their skill. They're going to pay half their life, take our Blade Knight, tribute it for Grand Marg, and YOLO Grand Marg's effect on our middle face down. They're going to use, they're going to hit Shrink. We're going to use Shrink. Unfortunately, Shrink's not enough to stop this. So we're forced to use Book of Moon, and at that point, Grand Marg was a 2-for-1, which is really nice. Card's actually really, really good. Tribute summon, target a set card in the field, destroy that target. However, it does say destroy that target. So if the set card is flipped face up, it is no longer a set target. Therefore, it won't be destroyed, like Zone of the Spirit, for example. So it's a little unfortunate. We're going to draw into Widespread Ruin. We're going to set that and pass. They're going to draw into a second Sphere Karibo. They're going to flip Grand Marg back face up, swing, and we're going to flip the Widespread. However, they're going to chain Book of Moon. Widespread does destroy a attack position monster that we control with the highest attack. However, Book of Moon will flip it face down. Thus, it's not an attack monster anymore. Attack position, I should say. We draw, however, into Rhoda. So we'll search the one of few warriors left in our deck, this being Command Knight this time. We'll normal summon it. Now I wish we actually flipped it where we searched Command Knight the last time, since we didn't need to search the Blade Knight. We had enough with just Command Knight. However, they're going to sphere this, so it does go to defense. They'll draw into Book of Moon. They'll flip Grand Marg face up, and they'll swing into our Command Knight. We have no defense for that. We draw into Book of Moon. We'll set that and pass. They draw into Spell Canceller. So this is interesting. They side into Spell Canceller, which is Jinzo for spell cards. They could tribute this here for Spell Canceller, since most of the things they've seen us play are spells. However, there are widespreads every now and then. So they could tribute it for Spell Canceller and essentially win the game. However, they'd rather sit on a 2400 beat stick because we do play monsters that get over this that are not tribute summon monsters. So I guess I understand the reason they held off on that. I don't know. I probably would have been a little bit more risky since they still have a Sphere. But that would also turn off their Book of Moon as well. So literally Sphere would be their only defense. I mean, it does depend depending on what they thought we would have. But like our skill's already been used. So there's only so many things we could have hit. We draw into Command Knight. We will normal summon it. Attempt to once again swing. They'll use the second Sphere Karibo. They draw into Kaiser Glider, another fantastic card. Really good for the mirror match, but also good here. It can't be destroyed by battle with monsters of the same attack, so this can run into Grand Marg or Jinzo and not die. However, if this card is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can target one monster in the field and return that target to the hand. So this card is really, really good, especially in the mirror. They're going to tribute Grand Marg here for it. Actually, it's a pretty good option on their part. They're going to swing over the Command Knight. But basically, it sets it up so that if we do somehow get a tribute summon monster on the field, now we can't even kill this. And if we find a way to destroy it, they can bounce a card. We're going to draw into Book. We're going to set the Book. They draw into Shrink. They'll set that. They'll have Kaiser swing in. We'll book it. We draw into Donnie Lug. The only thing we can really do with him is set him and pass. They draw into Breaker, and it's over, guys. Like, even if it wasn't, like, the thing is, the deck has been overpowering us in advantage the entire time. It still has Shrink and Book of Moon, Kaiser, Breaker, and Spell Canceller. The following turn, they could attribute this for Spell Canceller, and then even though these would be turned off, they could go in for a game-defining push. It's unfortunate, but the only two cards we had, as you can see, the only two cards we had left were Shrink and Cosmic, which wouldn't really do too much to this field anyway. And then they go ahead and show us what they got left. It's straight overpowered. Straight overpowered. So for the Warrior deck, we played one Grand Marg, one Jinzo, one Charging Gaia, one Blade Knight, two Command Knight, one Sage, one Donnie Lug, and one Exiled Force. For everything that's not these three, Rhoda gets you whatever you want, so I feel like playing more than one copy of every single one of these except Command Knight is not really necessary. Command Knight, we play the two of just because it gives the Warriors 400 extra boost and also prevents our opponent from attacking. This, if you have another monster, and if you somehow stick both Command Knights, then you have the little wall there where they can't attack anything. It's always good for that. One Hammer Shot in the main deck. I think this card's really underrated. I'm surprised a lot more people aren't playing this in general. Especially with something like this deck where it's like a Monarch deck, except you're getting by with more of your warrior monsters than you are your actual tribute summon monsters. So you know your opponent's monsters are going to be bigger a lot of the time, and you can stall them out, but then Hammer Shot's there to clear the board completely. It's just a really good card in general to have, I think. The triple Rhoda, of course, triple Book of Moon, of course, double Shrink, This card sees a lot more play lately, and rightfully so. It's just really good. The fact that you can wait till damage step, so your opponent is forced to counter trap. Like, it's really good for that. We always play the one offerings of the Doomed, of course. I just think this card's really good. One Cosmic, I've actually felt that this isn't as relevant as it could be or as it needs to be in something like this, especially when you're playing Inner Conflict, because you are paying half your life points. So depending on where you pay the half, this ends up being a lot worse. It's only really good early game because you can always pay half, but you can't always pay 1,000. So it depends where you hit it. I actually think I might drop this for a Dust Tornado in the future, just because this deck's more tempo based anyway. You don't have to react. You don't have to essentially have the card to destroy them instantly. You can play a little bit more passive, and Dust Tornado is a more passive card, but like when you don't have to pay any life points with it, it's actually pretty good. I'd either play this or Night Beam, but again, like I said, this deck's not aggressive. You don't have to be aggressive with it. Night Beam, I feel, is more of an aggressive spawn trap destruction type card. Dust Tornado is a little bit more passive, so I'd probably stick with Dust Tornado in the side deck. The one Cosmic in the main, though, I don't mind it as a one-of, but beyond that, yeah, it's a little much. And then 2, Widespread. Yeah, we play one Jinzo in the main, but we did take out the other Jinzo for Grand Marg, allowing us to play traps and not feel as bad about it, but easily can be swapped to either 2 Jinzo or 2 Grand Marg, depending on the setup of how you want to play the deck, especially if you want to play more traps. So like I said, for the side deck, there's the second. We play another Exiled Force. If this card's just really good in the right matchup, just always having it to get rid of a free monster on the field is pretty good. And instead of siding something like Warrior Returning Alive, whereas you'd have to hit the Exiled first, I'd rather just have another Exiled. Plus, the opponent, a lot of the time, once they see the one Exiled, they don't expect another one, so this is pretty good for that. Dust Tornado I just explained, and then the 2 Lost Wind for XYZ most of the time. But also anything else that special summons in general, half its attack, negate its effects permanently, it's really good. And then bringing it back from the graveyard if they summon from the extra deck is also just really, really good as well. So for the Monarch deck, we're playing 2 Grand Marg and 1 Jinzo. I still like the 1 Jinzo because even though we do play trap cards, and a lot of people assume Jinzo's, just live in the format in general, so they're playing less traps. Traps are still relevant depending on what your opponent is playing. This is obviously the biggest one. In the side deck, of course, Widespread and Zoma, usually see them still in the main deck here and there. So I like to have it, but I feel like by no means do we need it more than 1 copy. Grand Marg kind of just gets along with what it does best anyways. So we play the 2 Grand Marg and the 1 Jinzo for our tributes. 3 Breakers, card is flat out ridiculous. 2 Charging Gaia. 1900 beat deck is nice, but it's still easy to be sided for either another tribute summoned option or a Kaiku, which is really good right now. 2 Sphere Karibo. I think 3 is a little much. 2 is nice. It's a nice little balance there. Triple Book of Moon, double Shrink. I already explained this with the other deck. The 1 offering, because, I don't know, never leave home without it. 2 Zoma. This is, aside from the fact that it's just Zoma the Spirit in general, also works really well as tribute fodder for your monsters, and as an 1800 beat stick that your opponent has to deal with. It's a good card. Good, always has been a good card. And then 2 Widespread Ruin. This card's solid. I do think it is a little slow, and or depending on what you're playing against, Jinzo does screw it up. So it's an easy side out, and I guess we could side it in rather than side it out. But everything in my side deck is more side deck material. This is more, main deck. It's good against anything aside from Jinzo spam deck or, spell and trap hate deck. It depends, but like I don't mind having the top row be monsters in the bottom row be spell and traps. Like, in my opinion, this is still a really good card to stay in the main deck. The 1 Kaiser Glider, I talked about how this card is relevant earlier. Spell Canceller, same thing. Double Kaiku, easy side out for Charging Gaia, and just really good in the right matchup. And then 2 Lost Wind, because Lost Wind's, Lost Wind. The only other card I wanted to bring up was Soul Exchange. I know I'm not playing it in here because I look at this more like a tempo thing than, or like a numbers game deck than I do like an actual Monarch deck. But Soul Exchange is in Speed Duels. It is a really good option you could play. I would argue that if you were going to play it, maybe play 1 or 2 more tribute summon monsters in the main deck with Soul Exchange. But you do have the Charging Gaia, so it's not like it's absolutely dead wherever you see it. So, but guys, what do you think? Leave your comments down below. Do you like, love, or hate any of these options? Please let me know down in the comments. Comment, like, and subscribe as always. Please click that notification bell. I know it's annoying, but once you do it, you'll get all our content a lot quicker than you would get some of our content. So, there's that. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Yugi Bros out.